was so lost, looking for you, searching for love, making all the wrong moves, thinking back on all the times that I've been hurt in the past. I blame myself for just moving too fast, but you, girl, too good to be true, so I'ma take my time with you.
Can we go slow, baby? Can we go slow?
I need to know,
Baby,
can we take our time?
'cause I love you so much, and I don't wanna rush. A good thing,
Good thing,
good thing,
good thing,
good thing.
you are my good thing, baby. So here we are, standing face to face. I know what you're thinking, and I feel the same way. If we give it some time to grow, then there's no telling how far we can go. 'Cause my heart can't take another mistake, having regrets on the choices we made. You, girl, too good to be true, so I'ma take my time with you.
Slow, baby. Can we go?
Can we go?
Sugar,
Can we go?
can we go?
Slow, baby.
'Cause I love you so much,
Love you,
I don't
baby.
wanna rush. A good thing,
Good thing.
good thing.
You are my good thing, baby. It's so good to be,
It's so good,
so good,
so good.
so good, so good, so good, so good, yeah. So good to me, so good, so good, so So good loving you, babe, that I don't ever want to end. So let me
Go slow, baby.
let me take my time. Just keep loving you forever, babe. It's gonna be alright.
Slow, baby.
I'm thinking about you, babe. About you, babe.
But if you could just hold on, just hold on, then I know, oh I know it'll be so much better, baby. So is it alright if we take our time, baby? If you just trust in me, girl, I know it'll be alright. It'll be alright, baby. Yeah,
Two, one. Yo, what's up, everybody? We are live. I see a lot of people checking in already. We appreciate y'all. We're doing our special, our 50th episode, which happens to land during this big quarantine because of the coronavirus. None of us have it, and we're going to spend some time with y'all. So we're here.
50th episode, huh?
Yeah. Yep. All right. You're watching Young Lion TV. Let's go.
Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, everywhere I look, they're dying. Everywhere I look, they're dying. Young lion, won't you get up and stop fighting? Everywhere I look, they're hiding. Young
That song is more fitting than ever, huh? Young Lion, everywhere I look, they dying. Corona coming. What's up, everybody? I want to say a special shout out to everybody in the chat right now. I'm going to try to say what's up to some people. Andrea, Juanita, Beverly, Ariana, Justin, what's up? We got John watching, Christina watching, Talia, Karen, Melissa,
Wow.
Mike Lopez. A lot of people checking it out. What's up, everybody? Make sure you...
You didn't, Darlene?
Oh, I said
Talia.
Talia.
We
She said that's my favorite song. Love you guys. Brazil wants
which one? Go Slow or
Go Slow.
Young Lion?
Go Slow was playing when
okay.
she wrote that.
We got James in this one. Malaire, Golden, Holden, Babu, Annie, and our boy Wayne Bum. Chef Wayne Bum from high school.
What's up, everybody? Make sure you give a like to the video and share it, and just hit the share button real quick and just let it go up on your page so people can see that you're watching. And we hope everybody's doing okay. We hope everybody's staying safe. I know we are. But also we want to make sure you all know that you can go to our Patreon and become a member, become a Young Lion. Support the podcast. We try to do this every week. We were debating whether or not we were going to come in here tonight and do this, but you know, we don't live by fear, so we just move. We just make moves. Also, go to the website jatan.com if you want to hear music and if you want to get merch like this T-shirt right here. Ariana said, "Go slow." John said he waved to the computer like y'all could see me. I asked him if he wanted to come on tonight, but he said he's not ready.
What do you mean?
He's nervous. He's nervous to talk in front of people. Darlene said Brazil wants us to know that Go Slow. Yo, Brazil did some numbers in Go Slow Go Slow, man. I remember when we put the video up. And it shot to like over 100,000 views real quick, and a lot of those views came from Brazil. Mm-hmm. It did really good over there, which is interesting. How's Brazil doing with the coronavirus? Anybody heard about that?
I haven't heard anything.
Can we look that up?
We can look that up.
Golden Holden Babu said, "Don't be laughing at my name."
You probably saying it all wrong. Can you please phonetically tell
He's
him
not
how
laughing
to say
at your name. He's laughing because he has no clue.
Golden Babu. Holden
Babu. Right. That's how you would say it.
I mean, Yeah. Let me see.
John John said, "Don't laugh at him."
Golden holding.
Come on, John John. We want you on here, man.
Yeah. So, how's everybody doing? Make sure you guys chime in on like whatever you see going on around you, wherever you're from. You know, let us know what's going on with this quarantine situation. This is like a crazy time. We've never seen anything like this
Never.
Yeah,
in our lifetime. Like even when I remember we were together when remember we had rehearsal the day of 9/11. You remember that? At my
Yes.
dad's apartment
Yes.
in Blackwood. And we were like all together watching that shit go down.
Yeah.
And how crazy that was and the feeling. Which that was more of a like, oh shit moment. Like
Yeah.
when that all happened. But even the after effects of that wasn't like what this is.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
I remember after everybody like band together, there was
Yeah.
like this patriotism.
right.
You know, everybody was like,
Yeah. But
this is
this is like stirring up something else. There's a lot. I want to get into a little bit of like the mentality and the fear that's going around and what it's causing and like how it's actually creating a unique situation that we've never seen and it's actually creating something that's giving people the opportunity, I feel, in a lot of ways to reevaluate what they care about and what they,
Right.
value. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because a lot of what you normally like give a shit about, you know what I mean? Like, let's face it, like, posting on Instagram, like Instagram flossing is not a thing right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a priority right now.
Yeah.
And stuff like this happening in the world kind of puts that in perspective for you. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know how people always like goals, hashtag goals.
Hashtag
Like,
goals,
that
yeah.
definitely changes.
Yeah, man. Like, I booked a vacation coming up in June, and I'm like, is that even going to happen? You know what I mean?
Yeah, me
You
too.
too, right?
Yeah.
I was gonna book one, and then I had to pray about it.
Yeah, but it's just crazy. Like looking at everything that's going on now. I was watching Andrew Schultz is doing like a quarantine series on his podcast too, and he had a funny joke about how like he was saying like how this is a bad time for gold diggers or like thoughts, you know what I mean? Because the economy's crashing. So like dudes that was paying for girls' rents and stuff, like they're gonna be like, sorry, like. So now you gotta like,
Damn, they gonna be homeless.
So your whole worth has to change now because like you can't just live your life off of your looks. Like this does level that playing field,
The
right?
stuff
Like,
Yeah.
people think about.
but it's funny, like
And you seen how many there were that follow the NBA players
Yeah.
in the Bahamas.
bro, when we were in the Bahamas,
Oh yeah,
all them
Yeah.
chicks, what are they gonna do now?
yeah.
You
And-
can't travel.
Yo, that
I heard Kevin Durant has.
he's just another one that just got hit with that Rona.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting how a lot of these basketball players are getting it.
Well, where were they? Where were they?
They were in China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember us talking about this? The first,
That's their second home, man.
they traced the first case of coronavirus all the way
in
back to November.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When was all that shit going down with China?
Yeah,
You
around
know what I
that
mean?
same time.
Around that same time. When they was all, and ain't that like the massive amount of irony about it? Because we were on here on the podcast talking about how like you see what people's value when they chase money, like and like how they were totally caping for China and the shit that they were doing to the protesters and
yeah.
the Uyghurs and like don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And then so because they didn't want to lose that money. Now their whole season's canceled
Yep.
because of China.
Now they
You know,
lost.
like
Yeah.
the irony is crazy.
Yo, what if China did that shit on purpose?
Listen, bro. No, that's not even a joke.
No.
There's articles about it.
I don't think they did it on purpose. I think they're taking advantage of it. You know what I mean?
Man, I believe they
they might have,
I
yo.
think they purposely withheld information.
Yeah.
And they purposely let it get out of control because they knew what it could cause in other countries. Like think about it.
Yeah.
China has a system in place where it's a dictatorship. So if some outbreak happens, they can get a handle of it quick because they can just force everybody to separate. They can force that shit.
Yeah.
In this country, you can't do that because we have a constitution, we have rights. So it's harder to
That's why we're not abiding by the
That's why you got people in Florida
curfew.
partying on the beach yesterday. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like China could easily let it get out of control and then get it in control in their country and then watch what it does. Like, they're totally like,
Yeah, but I don't think they have it in control in their own country. Like,
it's. I mean, maybe they don't. We
that's-
don't know.
like,
we don't know. But they're reporting that.
They're reporting
They're
that
reporting.
it's gotten way better.
But
Yeah.
that's why they're kicking.
That's-
They're
they
kicking
did.
all our
They
reporters
did
out.
just kick all their
So,
journalists out.
Yeah,
today.
so they don't want to. I don't think they want to really know.
They don't want to let people. But
Yeah.
I don't trust China. China's been
I
jockeying
mean, of course,
for power.
So why would you trust them saying that it's getting better? That's what I'm saying.
I'm saying I don't trust that they didn't do this on purpose either. You know what I mean?
I don't. I mean, I think, and this is just me conspirizing.
Yeah, conspirizing. I like that word. Hey, I'm all about them conspiracies.
T-shirt.
Let's do
That's
it.
a T-shirt.
Let's get into it.
I think they were attempting to
create some
create
kind of-
something, and it got out,
yeah.
and and
Hold-
they didn't expect
That's
it.
a
to.
movie.
Hold that thought because I
Yeah.
put a video up in the team chat, Rach, when you get a chance. That is Bill Gates talking about that very thing. And when I watched this video, I'm like, yo,
Oh,
the
Terry, hey Terry,
the
Sorry.
freaking Chinese president watched this and just was like, thanks, Bill. This is what I'm going to do. Like, I'm telling you, you got to watch it. He breaks down how, like, how some type of pandemic could totally destabilize our economy because we're not prepared for it. Like, he talks about it.
Yeah.
And he says it could be, natural or man-made or, like a bio.
Oh yeah, Bill Gates. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But it was just funny because I'm watching. I'm like, yo, what's his name? President Yi? Yi was like, yeah, sounds like a good idea. And he just totally just ran with it. But I thought like it was so ironic about the basketball thing because that whole thing happened with China and they didn't want to call out China because they didn't want to lose that money. And now they all don't
They
even
all
have a
lost that
season.
money. Yeah.
And a lot of them got coronavirus.
Yeah, from being over there.
Some of them are doing good things though. They, I know the young kid. I forgot what his name is. He donated majority of his like check to pay the salary of the people that got laid off at like the stadiums and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing to see a young kid do that. You know what I mean?
John said Idris Elba got it too. Yeah, that's true. Idris Elba was one of the people. Be aware of. We were just talking about this before the podcast. Be aware of new terms that they try to normalize when they just enter it into the psyche of humanity and they get everyone saying new terms that you never heard before. And now this social, what is it? Social distancing. Social distancing is like the new term that you're hearing. And you got to everyone just be aware of that this is like a new concept that they're trying to get everyone to normalize. It's this social distancing.
Stan said Zion. What are you talking about, Stan?
Zion, that's his name.
Oh, the player.
Oh, okay.
The rookie.
Thought he was talking about some kind of biblical thing.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Oh yeah. So, but did you hear about? Yo, let's watch this Bill Gates thing just so y'all can see what I'm talking about.
Likely thing to cause, say, 10 million excess deaths, and that it's pretty surprising how little preparedness there is for it. Now, it's tricky because this is a global problem, so how do countries work together? Which countries should put up what resources? And every aspect of it, the resources to go engage in the affected countries, the allocation decisions. As we've seen various flu scares come along, we haven't had a super good response. So the paradigmatic examples are smallpox for an intentionally caused thing, that there was a simulation called Dark Winter that didn't come out very well, i.e. smallpox scored 1 and humanity scored 0. Flu epidemics, where we always talk about the potential recurrence of a 1917 like Spanish flu problem, and then Ebola, which although it was much smaller, there was some luck involved in that. Because it wasn't spread through respiratory contact, the reproductive rate
See
was
that
a
right
lot
there?
lower, and
President
it
Yi was like,
basically
"Oh, we
people who
need
were sick
respiratory
or
contact."
dead who were doing most of the transmission. And so through a lot of heroic effort and a little bit of luck, it stayed under control and was largely contained to the 3 countries. You know, Zika is still recent enough that the understanding of, okay, should we have seen it sooner? Even understanding what the steady state case looks like in terms of immunogenicity, why it showed up in South America and didn't show up in Africa. I know people are hard at work trying to answer these questions. So the lessons from
forgot
that
about
one,
Zika.
I'm not trying to minimize that
another
one
one.
at all, but I think they're less clear than from Ebola. You know, I think it's too bad in a way that we had to have these epidemics to get us to move, but the timing in terms of the science, the recognition that epidemics don't respect borders, and so whether you're looking at this through a humanitarian lens or a purely domestic lens,
Okay, I
these
can't
are
take any more
investments
Bill
that,
Gates.
that
He talks so.
Yo,
yeah,
he's such a creepy dude.
so boring.
But yeah, if you watch the whole video, he goes into like pandemics and like how it could destabilize stuff. And I was just watching like, yo, this dude is really breaking down exactly what they could have done. Because I watch how China is like moving into all of these countries, setting up infrastructure, trying to grab hold of their economies. Remember when we were in Bahamas? The driver was
talking about that. Yeah.
yeah, how they kicked out all the Chinese workers that were working on the new resorts. And the Chinese ambassador was mad about that. But they were worried about killing off their own population. And this was like when it first, this was back in February, like around Valentine's Day when we first started hearing about it. So they made that move early. Imagine they didn't.
Right.
You know, imagine they didn't. But yeah, it's crazy, man. And another thing that is interesting is when you look at like, you know how we keep hearing about like people can't get tests, people aren't being tested, people aren't like, we don't really know what the numbers are because people aren't getting tested like they should be. How are all these celebrities getting access to these tests?
Right.
And they're not even like extremely sick. Like there's people that are like really showing symptoms and aren't getting tests. These celebrities that are like, yeah, I feel Tom Hanks, Idris Elba, I feel fine, NBA players. It's like, I get it. Maybe they were around someone who tested positive, so then they get a test. But it's like they're not showing symptoms, but then they're getting prioritized with tests. Did you hear about in Oklahoma? Like Oklahoma, something like Oklahoma used like 60% of its tests on the Oklahoma Thunder.
Really?
And another team from like near there
Wow.
that's not even in Oklahoma. I saw an article about that.
Well,
And I was like-
they're trying to say there's not enough tests.
That's what there's not enough tests. But then they're prioritizing tests with like these celebrities and athletes and stuff like that. It's crazy.
They're trying to say they matter more than the rest of us.
Karen said, "I'll tell you, it's money." Yeah,
Yeah, that could
possibly.
be it.
It's also a class system that is in place that we don't really always recognize. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Celebrities get this special treatment for some reason. Yeah, but
Malaire said there's 2 cases in Glassboro.
2 cases of people with it in Glassboro.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I mean the numbers are going up.
Yeah, it's at what, like 3,000 now?
3,000 something like that.
80 something deaths.
Yeah, so the thing that's crazy about this is just the panic and the the anxiousness that people are going out. Of course, everybody's joking about the toilet paper.
Yeah.
But
y'all got how many of y'all got way too much toilet paper right now?
I actually need some toilet paper. So if you have any,
Holla at your boy.
or else he's gonna start wiping his butt with his hand. No, he got towels.
Nah, back in the day,
I got some toilet paper for you though.
used to just go in the tub when we couldn't afford toilet paper growing up.
You would go poop in the tub.
No, go to the bathroom and then go in the tub
then
and just
get right
wash,
in the-
just
right in the
wash
shower.
yourself.
Yeah. Tisha says she has toilet paper.
Yeah.
All right, send me your address, Tisha.
Leslie said you're too close to Moon.
Huh?
Your social distancing is off.
Funny.
But what was you saying? Yeah, it's about the panic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what you see with this that you don't see with things in the past. And we were talking earlier before we started. Mom was talking about how media is contributing to that a lot. Like,
Big time.
you know, just this
Yeah.
this fear that's going on. And you see it, it's like a spirit, you know,
Mhm.
because it's just everybody's hit with, like, everybody's going out shopping, grabbing everything they can. You see, like, it amazed me how much meat is going. Like when I went to Wegmans,
Yeah.
and I had to go to ShopRite just because there was nothing at Wegmans.
Yeah, that's what they were saying. Like, don't go to the stores. What's up, Dacia? Dacia said, "What's up?"
There you go.
To see you.
Look, Rand said you need to be 3 feet apart.
Yeah.
Y'all are crazy. All that stuff about, like, that's what we're talking about, right? It's like everyone is, and I get it. Like, if you're going in places where you don't know people, and you don't know if they're washing their hands, you don't know if they're clean, you don't know if they have it, then
Yeah.
you need to keep your distance from them. But if you're in the house with people and you're staying 3 feet apart from each other at all times, it's just retarded. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Everyone's getting so hyped up into
I
fear.
know my
over this
kids are
thing.
nasty. I gotta tell them to wash their hands all the time. So
Yeah.
Luckily, kids aren't the problem.
I mean, it is good to wash your hands and, you know, especially like
Right.
follow
I was
protocol.
talking to one of the dudes we play soccer with is a doctor, you know, Daniel.
Yeah.
And we were talking about, because on Sunday, a lot of people didn't show up because of the message that was in the chat and, like, people being afraid. And we were just talking about it. He was saying, like, bro, I'm in the hospital every day. He's like, if people just wash their hands and just take the normal precautions that they would with the flu, which they don't already do. He was saying, like, people don't even do that with the flu. He was like, the flu has been always a bigger problem. He's like, if people just wash their hands, like, you don't really need to overreact. He said, I get why the government is getting ahead of it and trying to, like, put these precautions in place, but you on your day-to-day behavior, you don't have to act like it's the end of the world. Like, it's really not. You know, it's just a matter of everyone washing your hands and not, like, putting yourself in a position where it's 1,000 people condensed into one space. Like, that's why they're shutting down the gyms and places where it could really spread. But if you're, like, afraid to be around people because you might, it's like, that's where you're going too far, you know?
I mean, not only that, you got people going out buying guns because they're afraid.
Yeah.
You know, that takes it to a whole nother level. Rachel was,
well, why are they doing that though? Because the article that you just sent saying that the cops are stopping.
well, not just because of that, but that's that's
Well,
one of the things.
that is a big reason why though. Like they're not
People
they're not arresting people for crimes or theft and stuff like that. So people are like, fuck.
Yeah, because people have been watching The Walking Dead for seasons, for a lot of seasons, and they're like, "Oh, it's gonna happen." You know what I mean? The only thing that's funny to me about that is, like, you watch The Walking Dead all them years. Have you ever seen them with toilet paper?
Nope.
Toilet paper is not something that you stock up on in the apocalypse. It is not going to serve you any purpose, but a lot of people are. Karen said, "I think that is because we have info, but not enough to not worry. You know, you hear about cases, but you don't know where they went. It's like you have questions. Yeah, we all have questions. That's the thing about this is, like, none of us really know what's going on.
Right.
We only
Right.
know what they're going to tell us.
Right.
So all you can do is, and like Dr. Drew was saying, you know, don't listen to journalists. Don't listen to the media. The dude that runs the the head doctor from the CDC is giving the advice, telling you what to do, what to avoid. You know, those are the experts that you should listen to. You know what I mean? But they have not said, you know, to just totally be afraid and be panicking.
Well, they'd never say that.
Oh yeah, I know. But I'm saying, like, they're not giving you that indication either. They're just saying avoid these settings where you have to go somewhere and there's massive amounts of people that you don't know. You know what I mean?
They're preventing it, and it could get bad.
Yeah, it could.
You know, and I mean, why do you think, like, what can we take out of this?
What can we take out of this?
What can we take out of this? Like, I'm looking at this like this is opportunity.
Right.
You know what I
We
mean?
said that before. I think one of the things you can take out of it is reminding yourself what's important. You know what I mean? Reminding yourself what are those things that you put your trust and your faith in that really don't have any real meaning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it brings you face to face with your fear. You know, death, fear, and a lot of people want to run away from that. You know what I mean? But it also can bring you to a place of like hopelessness, you know, like, or just dread and like, what do I do?
Right.
You know? And a lot of times, and that's why I think one of the things is like, stop putting your trust in the government.
Yeah.
Stop putting your trust in any like man that's going to just do everything for you. No, you got to take some responsibility for your own life.
Right.
You know, and a lot of people
Like washing your hands.
like wash. I mean, that's basic. But,
Yeah.
but I mean, a lot of people, they like want to be mad at the gov. They want to complain. Like that's what's been going on a lot. A lot of people have been complaining.
Right.
Complaining about everything.
Yeah.
Complaining that they got to do this. Complaining they got to do that. Complaining about the president. Complaining about the government's. They're not doing enough. You know,
Right.
you can complain, but eventually you got to take responsibility for your own life. And what does that look like?
Right.
You know, how do you do that?
Yeah, and that's another thing, because a lot of people aren't able, like you were saying, like people that deliver certain routes can't make that money because the malls are closed,
restaurants are closed.
Yeah, a lot of places
Casinos.
casinos. So people that work in those industries too are now like, oh well, the government needs to step in, which they are talking about plans for that today. I saw on the press conference they're talking about like ways they can help people make it through this. But it also should set up in your mind like all of this shit that you put your faith in, as far as like security, like I have this job, I have this money in the bank, I have like those things are all illusions of security.
Speaking on that, I just ran into a lady today. She was she worked in the events business.
Yeah.
And they do a whole bunch of events, and this is killing them. She lost her job. She ended up having to take care of her 83-year-old mother, so she was like in a state of panic. So I just ended up like just praying for her and just telling her that
This is an
opportunity
for you to trust God.
Yeah, trust God.
And not trust the government, not trust the job that you had, or
not listening to all this, this panic that the media is telling you, and just believe,
Yeah. I think that's one of the most important things is a lot of people like, I'm not worried. I'm not scared because I have a relationship with God. I trust Him. Even if there was death all around me, I know He can raise, like there's resurrection life. Like His life can destroy death, and it's all opportunity.
Right.
But
that
everybody
also doesn't mean like you're just reckless.
No. You're
you know what I'm saying?
no, you're being led by Him.
Because some people at the beach will take that and be like, you know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, you got to be led. But that's my point. Like, you don't run off with stuff that you don't know anything about. And my point is, there's a lot of people that don't know anything. And love covers that, we have to, perfect love cast out all fear. We have to kind of be. What's that?
Somebody outside.
No. We got to be aware of that,
Mhm.
like, and humble ourselves in a way, because you might know, but what's it gonna do for somebody else if you're telling them they need to do this, this, and this that they don't know how to do? You know,
Right.
like a lot of people don't know how to trust in God if they've never trusted in God.
Right.
You know, and
Yeah.
it's so that love.
And a lot of people don't know how to do it that have like it's not an easy thing to say. You know what I mean? It's that's
But
a hard
it's-
thing to really put into practice. And I think it comes from a long time. That's a long journey.
It comes
You know
from
what
a
I mean?
process.
Yeah, it's not.
And that's
gonna-
what it's prepared to, like. I've been saying, like, you know. What was that?
the heck was that? Yo, you heard that? They shooting out here.
Is that a shot or was
That
that?
sound like a shot.
That just sounded like somebody banged on the door.
Nah, nobody banged on our door.
Oh, we're gonna check some things out. Hold on a second.
Yo, right on the podcast.
Did you guys vote today, or just in Illinois? No, we didn't vote today. We don't. We're independents. We don't vote Democrat.
And then Karen said, "I'm gonna just chill in my pajamas and listen to my boys Jatan."
Hey, cool.
Nothing wrong with that. What's going on out
Anything
there?
out there?
What was that, man? That was loud.
That was really weird. Yeah.
Nah, that wasn't
Yeah,
the door.
it sounded like it was a bang on the door. Maybe it was because of what we were talking about. You know, talk about spiritual things and things
Yeah.
start happening. But what were we saying?
We're talking about people not knowing how to trust.
Yeah, but this is an opportunity, like, to really, like, you have time. You know,
Yeah.
we were just talking about, like, last week.
Well, some people do. Not everybody does.
Not everybody does, but
Yeah.
you can make time. You know,
Yeah.
to really, cry out to God.
There is definitely something about like Karen said it's the Marshalls. There's definitely something about a lot of the distractions being forced away from you right now. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the things that you would just be ripping and running as distractions
Yeah.
get taken away, and it forces you into a place. Certain people I know that like can't go to work, that kids are home from school. It's like
Yeah.
you have an opportunity to reconnect in certain ways.
There was something that I'm trying to find this because it's kind of interesting.
Rachel, do you still have that article that you showed us about the Philly police? Yeah.
It was something that I felt like God was showing me about, like, he's interrupting our regularly scheduled program. You know, that whole like, you would have the emergency
The
broadcast.
emergency news broadcast
Yeah,
that would interrupt.
like,
Yeah.
and then it's a test, right? This is a test,
Right.
of his emergency broadcast system. Like, are you prepared?
Mhm.
Are you listening?
Mhm.
Are you hearing? And a lot of people, it's literally to trust him. And a lot of people don't hear it because you focus on the fear. And I truly believe, like, there's a spirit of fear that is trying to sweep over our land.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Over this country, to get people distracted in another way. But it's an opportunity to trust. And fear, what are you looking at?
Nothing. I'm looking at the.
Fear has to do with it's like a storm.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? A storm comes, what do? You run for shelter. You
Right.
run and hide. But we have to face that storm. You know, there was a thing where everybody was like, oh, we're going to die, and they're in the boat.
Mhm.
And what did he say? Peace, be still.
Right.
And what did he say to them? You have no faith.
Right.
You know, why are you so afraid?
Mm-hmm.
And we're supposed to be trusting in him. We're in him, but we don't trust through the storm when those things come.
But I think it's also because that term, even that, has been so like hijacked by just nonsense. When you say we have to trust in him, people don't have any idea what you're talking about. It just sounds like something churchy to say. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. How do you trust your father? You trust.
That's another problem.
No.
there.
What I'm saying is that if you, the perfect relationship between a father and a son is whatever the father says, or daughter, whatever. You're gonna trust in that person, right? You're gonna trust them.
Right.
You're gonna, whatever he said. Like if that's a perfect relationship,
Right.
anything my dad says.
But what if you don't have a relationship?
Well, then you gotta learn what that,
Right.
how to have that relationship.
So that's what I'm saying. So there's you have to. Where do I begin then?
Right, but
where do I begin?
So what I'm saying is that it's, where do you begin? You recognize as a child, you say, God, help me
right.
in Jesus' name,
Right.
in his character, so that I can receive something, and then believe that you can.
Right. That's what I'm getting at.
But what I'm saying is that there's people who aren't there, and it's fine. That's why there's people who are there, and they're the ones that are. He intercedes for us just like we're supposed to intercede for people. That's the love I'm talking about. You know, perfect love casts out all fear, and it's the love. Like, I'm not talking to the people who can't really do it. They do what they do. You know, what does he say? Whatever.
No, I'm talking about the people that want to know how to do it but have no idea how. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, they need to know too.
Seek him. Read.
But what does that mean?
Read. It means to read the Bible.
Okay.
And expect that he's going to show you.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of times, especially like Christians, get in this mode of saying stuff that in the circle, it's all known things. You know what I mean? It's just like if we're all around each other and we're trying to explain someone how to make a song
Okay.
in the studio. We know how to do it. And we're like, oh yeah, you got to get in the booth. You got to, get in there, right? Get on the board, plug the thing in and plug the mic in, turn the gain up. If someone who doesn't know what any of that means,
Okay.
it's like,
Well, let's go back to what I was saying, because I'm talking about a storm.
Right.
Right. Everybody knows what a storm is, right? Okay. So what happens how does a storm work, especially a thunderstorm, right? Water evaporates,
Right.
rises up, right?
yeah,
We as people who believe in God, right? We rise up with God as we seek him. And what that seeking means is reading, believing that there's hope in what he says. That's what love is. Love hopes all things, believes all things. So and I'm speaking about, there's different kinds of love in the Hebrew. So you got agape love. That's the divine love. It's not like the love I have for somebody in a relationship. It can be that, but it has to stem from him. So when we hear something that comes from that place, that divine love, that's the thing that gives us hope, that makes us rise up. You get what I'm saying? It helps us to step into his throne room. So we start going higher up, right? But what happens? Fear hits us. So we go up, and then
well, what does that mean? We go higher up.
it means that we start to enter into the place where he is. He's above. In the Bible, it says he's above all things.
So what do you enter in your mind? Like, what does that mean? You enter into the place where he is.
You enter in spiritually. You enter in. We're in a physical world that is spiritual, right? You feel things, right? So you're entering in through your feelings,
right?
Right. Everything.
But how do you know you're entering? What do you feel like?
You feel hope.
Okay.
In his word.
So when you start feeling hope, you're entering in. When you start
feeling hope for your life in a way where you couldn't receive that before.
Right.
Like, not a hope like, oh damn, I wanted to have sex with this girl. It doesn't seem like it's gonna happen. Not that kind of hope.
Right.
What I'm saying is that genuine things
Right.
in your life,
Mm-hmm.
death of stuff in your life, relationships in terms of even like what we were talking about, father, mother, like when there starts to become hope for your marriage, stuff
Right.
like that, that comes from him, you know, and we can exhaust that hope. And that's what the devil wants us to do. He wants to come to exhaust that hope so we can be hit back down.
Right.
So that's my point. Like we start rising up in hope,
Right.
right? And hope enters into faith, right? So you have in Corinthians, it talks about hope, faith, love, right? If you don't have, first of all, if you don't have love, you can't enter into hope.
Right.
And if you don't have hope, you can't have faith. And faith is the thing that walks it out, right? So you start to walk in this way because of the hope.
And walking in this way means what?
And it means what you do,
Your actions.
your actions
reflect what you
what
believe.
you believe
Okay.
because you hope it.
I'm taking you
because-
through all this
Yeah,
because it's,
and it's fine.
It makes more sense for people that
Right,
way.
and
You know what I mean?
that's fine. So you have to, like people say they believe something, but you don't believe it if you don't really hope in it. If you hope in it, you're gonna walk it out.
But if you really hope in it, you'll act it out.
Right.
Right.
But you might come, there's always going to be confrontation that comes.
Right.
That's the storm. So you start rising up. That's that thick, humid air that starts
Right.
rising up, that vapor.
Because a storm happens when high pressure air rises up into low pressure air,
Right.
and then it
In the
creates
colder
this-
air.
Yeah.
When it happens fast, it creates a storm.
Right.
And then what happens is that thunder and lightning.
So you're equating that to your spirit lifting up in this hope that you feel like you're moving in now, like somehow God has reached you in a way where you're like, okay, I see things different now. I see
Yeah.
hope. I see instead of seeing anxiety and fear
Right.
and depression, I'm seeing hope, and I'm moving in that hope. And then once you start moving in that hope, you start raising up you and everyone else around you, and then that's gonna naturally come against what's already in the atmosphere of people's fears and
Right.
anxieties, and that's going to create a storm that
It's-
you're going to be faced with
right.
at some point.
And it's kind of like a balloon.
Right.
You can have air inside that balloon that's different from the outside.
Mhm.
So you can have a different pressure in that balloon.
Right.
It's totally different from the outside, and that's a controlled thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you can have this controlled thing, and that seems like your whole world.
Right.
But think about that balloon. There's so much more air on
Right.
the outside, and once you puncture a little hole through that air comes in, right? And it
Yeah.
changes everything.
Right.
Right? It changes the whole atmosphere. So that's the point. Like, we don't wrestle against power. I mean, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against powers, principalities, might, and dominion.
Right.
Seated in where? High places, right? These things are seated in high places. So they want to keep us from going higher,
Right.
right? And there's a reason why we're explaining all this, because this is like literally what we're going through right now. And anybody who believes in God and trusts in him, this is an opportunity where you can go higher.
Right.
So what happens? You hit that, it creates a storm, right? And so you have the thunder and the lightning that happens. And that lightning is there to strike at you and to knock you back down to the ground.
Right.
Right? To hit you back down. Jesus said, I saw Satan fall like lightning. And it's the same type of understanding, because we're rising up just like he wanted to rise up. So what is the enemy doing? What is the devil? He's trying to stay in a place that blocks us from coming to the throne of
Right.
God, right? That's where he was shot down from, right?
Right.
So it's all about coming above the storm.
And I think as a country right now, that's like the story, right? Because America has been slowly rising over the last few years. Like
Right.
the economy's been doing better. Just like the overall, you see the mentality kind of shifting into like people being more motivated, people being more about, doing things, about having hope.
Right. But
And-
at the same time, you see a big division.
Mm-hmm.
You see very left and very right.
Yeah. There's a
And-
huge divide.
Yeah. And so these type of things that's an atmosphere, right? These divides, they're atmospheres. And these type of things will come to destroy that atmosphere, right? You won't see it at first until that actually happens and the storm comes, and then it totally transfers the way of thinking.
Right.
But it takes people, and it only takes a few people, to trust in what the word, this Bible, the words actually say. And who is Jesus? We say is the word. He's living, right? So if we trust in that thing that is truly living, those words will come to life in our life. But we have to, if we get knocked down, we got to rise back up in hope, right? And eventually it speaks about the eagle who is able to use the storm to rise above the storm with his wings. And there's something in Isaiah 40, I think it's 41, that speaks about how we'll be raised up with wings, eagle wings, basically, and we will run and not grow weary.
So So we're saying all of this, and you're saying all of this to say to people, everybody out there that's living through this, that if you can see it in that way, if you can see it in that sense where this challenge that we're facing, this dark time that we're facing right now, is an opportunity for you to not be in fear and to be in hope and be in trust that we'll be able to rise above this. And
it's a test.
Right.
And it's not a test like, are you going to fail? Are you going to pass? It's a test like you're being tested to see what are you going to choose? Are you going to choose life? Are you going to choose death? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I come that you might have life, have it more abundantly, right? So it makes me think about like when Israel was about to come into covenant, about to come into agreement with God that just saved them, right? Everybody knows about the 10 plagues in Israel, right? All these things happened, right? But yet they still couldn't see him for who he really was, right? So they came to the mountain of, what's the mountain?
Mount Sinai.
Yes, Mount Sinai. There we go. I couldn't think of it. Okay, so they go to the mountain of Mount Sinai, and he's about to come into covenant. What happens? A big cloud comes down, thunder and lightning and whirlwind, right? The storm, okay? He's coming as a storm. He starts speaking, and his voice is like thunder, and Israel's so afraid that they're going to poop their pants, right? And what do they say to Moses? They say, we don't want to hear him, right? They don't want to deal with that. They want to stay in the state that they're in. They want to stay in the comfortable state that they're in. So they say, you deal with that. We're not going to deal with it, right? And what does Moses say to them? This is a test.
But isn't that what everybody is doing now with the government? It's like,
exactly.
we don't want to deal with this crisis. Y'all figure it out and we don't change our day to day instead of like, because I feel like there's a lot of things in our lives that we don't realize are just nonsense. You know what I mean? And certain things like this come along and it purges a lot of that from people. You know what I mean?
Right.
But if you don't,
and what does purge mean?
It means it gets rid of it. It's just like if you have
It's
parasites.
a cleansing.
Yeah, it's a cleansing. Like if someone has parasites, they take a cleanse and it purges them.
Right. Purifying.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So like you have to be in a place where you see it that way. You know, if you see it as a way where like what you're talking about with them, like it's just like, oh, this is we don't want to deal with this.
Yeah.
What is happening?
And that's the key. They didn't see him as, well, if this is him, then he's good. And I'm going to get through it. See what I'm saying? Like they couldn't see who he really was and who he really was for them.
Right.
And even like with religion, a lot of times it's a bunch of rules.
Right.
You know, it's a bunch of traditions, but there's no relationship. And so many people say like, oh, it's about having a relationship between, relationship with Jesus. Like, but is it really to you? A lot of times, like, yeah, a lot of people say that, but is it really? Do you really know him? Does he really speak to you? Because if he did, you wouldn't be afraid. You would see him for who he really is. You wouldn't run. And so many people are running because they're in fear. And God didn't give you a spirit of fear, right? And perfect love casts out all fear. So the more we choose to seek out his love, and that's the most important, seeking out his love, the more we abide in that, and the more we start to produce that fruit, right? And I mean, if you want to go read John 14, John 15, it's about abiding in that. But he's the branch. He's the vine. Abide in it. We're the branch that abides in that, right? And what do? We produce fruit, right? And that fruit, that's the love of God that's evident in our life. He's the tree of life, right? I've come that you might have life, have it more abundantly. So what are you going to choose? Are you going to choose to stay in your same mindset where you're continually eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? What does that mean? I'm judging what's good and evil for myself. And that's what they were doing. This is a test. I'm putting a test before you because I'm saying, are you going to continue to choose your way of how you view me and how you view the world? Are you going to change the way you view everything and come into my way of seeing things? But you got to lay down your way. You got to lay down your way of seeing how you view life. And that's hard for people because there's comfort in that.
But now they're being forced to in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about.
And that's what we're talking about. And what I'm saying, it's not just an opportunity for them. It's an opportunity for us to speak life over people, to, humble ourselves, not just like, oh, well, you should be doing this, and this. No, that's not going to change anything.
See, that's why.
Yeah, I told you.
Yeah.
No, that doesn't change. Only love casts out fear. And if we're not walking in love, if we're not, they can't eat that fruit. We're definitely not abiding in that vine. You know what I mean? Because this is what happens a lot with people. They get from God, and it sounds good, and they have a lot of wisdom. They have a lot of knowledge, right? But then they start to focus and idolize what they've gotten and forget the one they got it from. So now you're just as bad because you cut yourself off from the source of love. And now you're going to judge wrongly. You know what I mean? You're going to judge people before you should be judging them because you're judging based off of what you've been given and not based off of the one who gave it.
Right.
And the one who gave it, he got up on, when people killed him, he got up on that cross and said, forgive them for they know not what they do. You know what I mean? So how much are we looking at people and judging them in our own lives based off of what God has given us? What grace? Because it's all grace.
I think that's going on whether God's giving you something or not. Like it's an era now of just judging everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just everyone is in this elitist, like self-righteous mentality now where it's like, I'm smarter than you and I'm going to tell you how you should live. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's happening all over the place. I mean, that's literally what Twitter is now, So it's just that mentality has kind of taken over everything, I feel like.
Yeah, I wanted to bring this up because he gave me this the other day. Like, I am the greatest conservative value that grounds you. I am the most progressive progress that bounds you forward. Like, he is progression. He is conservatism. So, like, there's a divide there because people are trusting in the things that they know, it's only through love. And it's not us trying. And when I say that, because like, what does that mean? It's only through love. But what does that mean? It's divine love. So me trying to love other people the way I think I need to do it, it's not going to work.
Right.
It's only going to get me frustrated, right? It's only going to make me quit, right?
Right.
It's only going to make me lose hope because I'm doing it out of myself. And I think one of the greatest things, especially for somebody like me, that I'm learning through stuff like this, but just at this time, is not doing it myself. You know what I mean? Learning to trust in him, learning that it's only through him. He does it all. And everything that I have to do has to flow through him. You know, what did Jesus say? I only do what I see the Father do. But we're always trying to like read his words and then try to
Use it.
make it work
Right.
for ourselves.
Right.
And it's backwards. You know, 2 commandments: love God with all
Love
your
God.
heart, strength, mind, right?
Yep.
Love your
Love your neighbor.
your neighbor as you love yourself.
Right.
You can't love your neighbor if you don't first love him.
Right.
You can't love if you don't first lay down your life for him, so that you can learn his love. And then through that process, you begin to learn how to love other people in a way where they can receive it, you know.
Yeah. For sure.
And
show.
I want to say what's up to a couple people real quick.
Yeah.
Lena, Kimberly, James watching, Jordan. What's up, y'all? We over here talking about this corona quarantine and everything that's going on. You got anybody over there, Chang?
I think Crystal Lynn Marie, isn't that y'all cousin?
Oh, yeah.
Aisha Williams, Terry Jackson Frost, Golden
Oh.
Golden Holden Babu.
Terry, that's the twins, right?
yeah.
yeah. Oh, Evie's watching too.
What about you, Mo? You got
Evie.
anything? You got anything to add over there?
No, I'm
What's
listening.
up, Jordan?
With the Mercy shirt on, Jordan said, "Yo."
Lord of mercy, you gotta have mercy.
Justin said, "Don't hit him too hard now."
I mean, this is the time where I think people need to be hit, you know, with some truth.
Those that are willing to listen. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Those who have ears.
Everybody else who's like tuning out, this is not for you anyway.
No.
You know what I mean? Because it's important, man. There's a lot of stuff going on, and if you don't see this as a time in your life where you need to get right with things, like if you would rather, you telling me you would rather run around every day in fear of if you're going to get the coronavirus and worrying about who's coming around you, what you're touching.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I mean, there is, like, you can say, man, I ain't worried about, like, that's pride.
Right.
There's a difference.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, no, I'm not worried about it because I trust
right,
in my God.
right,
And I know, like, and it's like, well, what if, like, somebody can say to you, well, what if your kids get it? What if it doesn't matter. I
Right.
trust in him.
right,
What if they die? He can raise them up. Like,
Right.
I don't care. If I die, I'm not afraid to die. There's
Right.
no fear in me about that. I don't care because I know that my hope is in him. And the thing is, we stop believing,
right.
right?
Well, that's part of the problem with the whole mindset that's going on right now. Like there's
Yeah.
been a whole push of people that don't believe in anything anymore.
Mhm.
So what is that going to do? That's going to leave you with fear. That's going to leave you with, only thing you have to then trust in is the government to save you from this thing that you're in fear of. You know
Right.
what I mean?
So-
But what does that do? That puts you in a compromised permission now where you have to give
Yeah.
all your rights over to the government.
Yeah.
You have to put yourself in a position where now you have to basically let them control your life so that somehow you'll feel secure again.
Yeah.
Which you
Isn't
never
that
will.
what socialism is?
Right.
And that's what you got in China.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But not only that, like that's one of the things that we did to be in this position that we're in now. Like if you've seen the articles about how China is now talking about how they might cut off our medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it,
spite-
like
to spite
85%? 85%?
I know it's over 90% of our antibiotics come from China.
Right.
Ridiculous.
You know what I'm saying? And our vitamin C, like over 90%.
Yep.
So it's like,
Penicillin. Like,
yeah, and antibiotics. So like you think about that, we're in a compromised position because
How did it get that way?
right,
We gave it up.
we gave it up. We gave it up, chasing what?
Money.
Greed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not realizing what we were putting our value
Yeah.
in, what we were putting our faith in.
Like everything, people want to talk about, like, everybody wants to go vegan
Yeah.
because they see what's going on with the animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
that was all because of money. It's not because we shouldn't eat animals. There's a way to properly eat animals.
Right.
You know, but
China's not
we
doing
have to take responsibility for that because we let it go. You can't just say, "Oh, I'm going vegan now."
Right.
Like,
Right.
that's
That's just causing another
Yeah.
problem because that's another industry that's going to chase the greed.
Right.
And they're killing tons of animals too.
Yo, speaking of eating animals proper,
Yeah.
y'all see? Did you see that? Jamie saw the video. Did you see the video of the Wuhan market?
no, but I heard you guys talking
I
about
shared
it.
it on the thing.
See if you can pull that up, Rach. Jordan.
Uh,
In the meantime, Jordan says, "I'm seeing tons of people on social media using the virus as evidence that there's no such thing as a loving God."
That's because of the people you're around.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not saying-
People you associating with there, Jordan. No, but I get it. Like a lot of people would use that as their,
Yeah. I mean, when you look at like the Old Testament, people always say there's two different gods. You have
Yeah.
to- but no, there's not. He allows things to happen so that you trust in him.
right.
You know what I mean? How are you going to get past your pride and trust in him? He's got to allow things in. But you don't think he can't turn things around just like that?
Right.
You know, people are always so worried like, "Oh, what about my 401k? What about, you don't think he can't turn things around? We have
Yeah.
to trust.
Not only that, it's like that should just wake you up to the fact that all of these numbers that you see on your bank account, all of these little green rectangles that you want to collect so much
They don't mean anything.
called money. It's
Yeah.
all doesn't it all if everything was to like totally fall apart, all of that becomes useless.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That holds no. So all them dudes on Instagram, oh, here goes the market in Wuhan.
That's just all right, right?
That is right. Want to see more?
What is that? Dogs. Wow.
Yeah, so the problem is like with a lot of these wet markets that they have in China, there's no real regulations. There's no like people talk about the FDA and shit like that we have here. And yeah, there is like some over regulating going on that helps big corporations. What are you laughing at?
I'm just laughing at Jordan.
Yeah, I
Because he
know.
said exactly. But still.
But still.
Yo, but it gets nastier, man. Like,
Yeah,
it
I
looks
know.
so dirty.
But
There's
this-
rats.
This is what I'm saying. So the problem with not having those systems in place is that you have a lot of these wet markets where animals are stored on top of each other. They're like, so the one animal is eating and then shitting on the other animal, and then they're eating, and then that's all getting mixed up, and it's creating these weird. That's why do you think so many viruses come from
China.
Because places like that are a breeding ground for new. Like the swine flu was a disease that existed in pigs that jumped to humans. Like you can create these diseases that will jump to humans, and it becomes a huge problem.
And what is that? What are we talking about? Like, it's about the land, right? There's a verse about humbling yourself, praying before God, and He'll heal your land.
Right.
I'm trying to remember where that comes from, but it's all even in the Old Testament. He's talking about if you don't do these commandments, the land's
land
gonna
will
vomit you out.
Right.
Because you're not honoring what He's given you.
Right.
You know what I mean? We don't honor it. We take it and we use it for our own gain, and there's no respect. There's no honor there.
Right.
So it all goes back
I
to
just thought of Lion King, yo, when you just spoke on that.
What about Lion King?
How Scar just let the hyenas just
Oh yeah,
mess up the
that's
land.
dude. That's such a prophetic
It wasn't
movie.
just the hyenas though. He was letting all the animals that he was in charge of just overhunt. Like even the lions had a system to where they would hunt.
Yeah.
What parts of the like the animals know that instinctively, And back in the day, like farmers knew that too, how to work the land properly, how to hunt properly, how to even hunters today. Like there's a reason why there's hunting seasons.
Yeah.
There's certain things that you can go after at certain times because there's a system to it to keep the ecosystem in place. It's once we get the greed take over and people start over hunting and that's when it becomes a problem. And places like China, like they don't give a shit.
Yeah, they don't.
And they definitely don't. What do we got here? Oh, we're looking at more of this. Look at that. Look at them snakes. And it's all just sitting there.
They got torches.
Yeah. They got every kind of animal that you could think of. It's just sitting on a stick, ready to be eaten. And then you wonder what, like,
That's crazy, man.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, man.
my last name is Chinese, and I'm talking about my own people. That's some nasty.
So that's what I wanted. So Solomon, he came to Solomon, and this is like the second time he came to Solomon. But he said, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways. But we got to understand, like, we got to even humble ourselves. Like, all right, what am I doing that I don't know? Like, you think those people know what they're doing?
Right.
Like, do we know what we're doing to the land? Like, we're so removed from our food
Yeah.
that we eat. Like,
That's
I got
why
to
we
tell
talk-
my
we talk
kids,
about that all the
these
time.
things come from actual life.
Right.
You know what I mean? They don't understand where the food comes from because we're so removed from it. But so we have to humble ourselves, in many aspects.
Right.
And it's just not like because we see something's going on wrong. Now let's be activists and fix
Right,
it.
right.
No, you don't know how to fix it.
Right.
All you're gonna do is cause more problems.
But that's why I always tell people, like, and the Jordan Peterson, he's kind of, but just that concept of like, just fix it in your house.
Yeah,
Right.
but
You know what I
what
mean?
does that? But it's like, okay, Dad, as a kid, like, you got to show me how to
Right.
clean my room first.
Right.
You know what I mean? Show me what is a good
But what
way.
I'm saying is that first, like you're saying, like that, you said someone will get a glimpse of something and then become an activist and go out there and want to change everybody.
Right.
So it's like, no, that thing that you got there, start that in your home
Right.
and start from there.
Right.
And keep that going. And then
What-
cultivate that, water that, and
What,
that will
what is
become
that?
a tree.
What is that?
Right.
You know what I mean? What does that look like?
Right,
How
right.
So keep going with this. Then I hear from heaven and forgive. So God says, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sins and heal their land.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in this world? Like, there's so many times in the Bible where it talks about like a place that was thriving turns to a desolate place. It turns to nothing.
Mhm.
It turns to desert.
Right.
And it also talks about how that land that was desert, it springs up. Water starts flowing through it. Grass starts coming up. That's the restoration of God. So there's everything that he says, he does it so that you can trust in him. We trust in ourselves, and then what happens to this world? It gets destroyed every
Communism.
time. Communism. That's like literally like no God.
Right,
You know what I mean? That's
right.
literally like only what I do.
The dictator's God.
I know what's best.
Yeah.
For ourselves. And that's what happens that's why like the socialist movement in this world is like, oh, they'll point out all the stuff that's happening and they want to seek out justice for themselves.
Right.
No, but we're supposed to be seeing that no, justice only comes from the throne of God.
Right.
So the funny thing is, we can't even get to the throne of God if we can't get past the thrones of these powers, principalities, and
Right.
powers that are trying to keep us from his throne.
Right.
You know what I mean? We
Trying to keep you in your balloon.
trying to keep us in our fear.
Mm-hmm.
We have to get past that. And then his justice comes. And then his life comes and breaks forth out into the land and changes things.
Yeah.
We want justice in our lives. It only comes from him. It doesn't come from ourselves. We see all the injustice in this world. Stop trying to fix it all. Humble yourself
Mm-hmm.
and let him do it. That's hard to do.
That is hard to do.
You know?
Yeah.
Why does he say love your enemies? Because of that reason. Because then you're going to go out and try to justify yourself.
Right.
And that's so hard for people to do. I can't let somebody just,
Yeah.
do that to me. No,
Right.
I can't.
Can't let nobody disrespect me.
The thing is, when you lay that down, you're laying down your life so that you can be healed.
Right.
He can heal those wounds. That's the greatest love there is.
Right.
And how can you extend that love? What happened?
Nah, I heard something, but it was helicopter.
Yeah, how can you extend that love if you
That
never,
Rona coming in at Cooper.
That helicopter's been back and forth.
if we don't lay down our life, we can never do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and it's so interesting, like you're
Let it die.
bringing that up, like with the whole, the market, like
Yeah.
where it came from, and just look at what's going on there, and look at the state that it's in.
Right.
And for those people, that's okay. For us in America,
Yeah.
that's not okay.
Right.
We're in a different perspective, right?
Right. But there's things here that are okay.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
It
That
doesn't mean we're better.
Right. That other people will be like, how could you do that? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It doesn't mean we're better. It just
No.
means we're under a different system.
Yeah. And true perfection, it comes from above. It doesn't come from us.
La Anthony says, hi, guys. Stay safe. Oh, we are safe. Don't you worry. We are in our office. Look, y'all don't know this, but we're right across the street from the hospital. So if you hear the helicopter in the background, that's people getting flown in. In your opinion, should we even bother trying to fix these social issues or just focus on the battle in the spiritual realm? Or is there some kind of balanced approach? I think, like I said, I think you fixing the issue is
Fixing yourself.
fixing yourself.
And you can't
fixing-
fix yourself.
Right,
You have to allow him to fix you.
right.
And that's the point.
That's all you can, and that's all you need to be worried about.
Mhm.
That's all you need to be worried about. You don't need to be worried about fixing everybody, these social issues all around you. Like, all you need to worry about is fixing yourself so that you can then fix your home,
If
your
you look,
household.
we were talking about this the other day, like that movie, I think it was called Mercy, something about Mercy.
I
I
don't
know
know.
Mercy was in it, but
Mon shirt.
Lord of mercy.
but it was
Lord have mercy.
it was with Jamie Foxx and
Oh,
Jordan.
yeah. Jordan B. Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan. Yeah.
Jordan.
So, and I've seen this like with the guy who he goes to, and people think he's crazy, but he goes to the KKK
Yeah.
dudes, the black guy who
Yeah, the
goes to the
black
KKK.
guy that converts the
And
KKK.
yeah, it's love.
Right.
It's love. It's always
And he
about
says
love.
that, though.
Like
he says
yeah.
that though. Like he actually befriends them to change them.
Yeah.
It's not by him, showing them how dumb they are.
Yeah,
You know.
it's about him showing them, or
All the things
showing
that-
himself
Right.
to
He's-
them.
First of all, he shows himself that they are just people
Right.
that happen. Like, yeah, you don't agree with them, and yeah, they have these messed up ideologies, but they're people.
Yeah.
And him being able to do that is what then be able for them to see him as a person.
And are you willing to go in those places of confrontation?
Right.
No, most
Face
people
that
will
storm.
run. It's exactly
Right.
Most people are going to run from it. They're
Yeah.
not going to go into it, and yeah, it's not going to feel comfortable at first. Because why would it? You know.
La Anthony says, I think it's a balanced approach because we must be the standard in which we need to live. Yeah.
Yeah, but that standard.
But being the standard has nothing to do with forcing other people to
yeah.
see your standard.
right.
It's
And
just
that's
about
what we were talking
right.
about today. That's what people are doing today.
Right.
The standard comes from God,
Mm.
and we, through laying down our life, through humility, we come into that, and we share that love,
Right.
that standard of love that will penetrate other people's hearts. Like
Right.
that's it. You're not gonna change somebody by beating them down with rules.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna work.
And laws and
Yeah.
and yeah.
Not to say you can't uphold them,
Right.
But you can't beat them. Like, it's not going to change them.
Right.
Like, your kids will not genuinely change because of the rules you have in your house. No, they change because of love.
Right.
The way you love your kids is going to enter them in, and they're going to honor you and respect you. They're not going to do it because of, they're
Right.
only going to, you can be a strict parent and have it all together, but your kids.
I mean, how many times do we see that growing up with, like,
Yeah.
especially being teenagers, and the girls that had the strictest parents were the worst.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it was
what do
like,
you mean by the worst?
you know what I mean?
Promiscuous.
They were this. Well, I'll just say this: they were the sneakiest,
Yeah.
because all you're doing is getting them better at lying to you and sneaking around, because they want to find a way to break your rules without you finding out.
Not only that, none of us are perfect.
Right.
None of us got it all together.
Right.
So you think your kids aren't looking at the stuff you do wrong
Right.
and like, you hypocrite.
Right.
You know, so when you're just vulnerable with them, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you love them with that vulnerability, it's a whole nother world.
So Anthony is going in on this. So if we always or almost always show love and gratitude, they may in turn act that way. We lead by example. Right. Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying, but it has to be a genuine thing. It has to be you, because people's idea of love, it has become this other thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, love is not the Dalai Lama, oh, peace and love to everyone, that concept.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and we have this weird opinion that, like, because that's another term that's been hijacked, and, you know, like, the whole movement is, well, we need to love everybody, so that means we need to take everyone's money and give it to people that, you know what I mean? Like, it becomes this concept, and it's not rooted in anything that.
It's not rooted.
Right.
What is it rooted in?
Right.
Love has to be rooted and grounded in something. You know, it can be rooted and grounded in the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But is that really love? You know,
Right.
love never fails. So love will literally give up its life for you, right?
Yeah.
That's literally what Jesus did. We have to be in that same mode to be able to give up our life. You know, and that's not easy for
Right.
people. Like, give up our life. Everything, give it up. But what happened to him in the end? He was raised up. That's the hope that's in his God's love. There's no other religion that can give you that. It's not a religion. You know what I mean?
Right.
The only religion is to seek after that love.
Right. Because religion can hijack all of these things you're saying. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, even that term, give up your life. Like, there's so many different
Yeah,
ideas
it
of
can
what
definitely
that means,
twist.
You know.
Yeah.
You know.
But that's why, like, everything we're talking about, we're not saying it for, like, you got to listen to what we say. No, you got to seek the one who gave this.
Right.
You know, where did it come from? It came from that source. Seek that source. Find out where that source is so that you can get from that source. Because that's the only thing that's going to solidify you, ground you, stabilize you, settle you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, settle you from what? The shaking that's going on right now.
Right.
Right. We can't do it. What do? We just lead you to it.
Right. We just sing some songs, and hopefully it helps you along your merry way. Like, who used to say that? Bobby Womack.
Because tomorrow.
Yeah.
What's up, Eric?
Eric watching.
Eric watching. Your
Sup,
mom watching.
cuz? Yeah, but it's definitely just crazy to see like the whole shutdown thing happening now.
It's unprecedented.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. You know what I mean?
I was thinking about in San Francisco, like, because San Francisco has like the hardest quarantine on, right? People aren't even allowed to leave their homes. But then it has like one of the worst homeless populations.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, how
do they
effective is that
control
going to
that?
be?
Yeah.
What do you do with those people?
Yeah.
And how are they like? Most of them live in like these tent cities.
Can't wash their hands.
Yeah. So
You know.
how is that going to contain anything?
Hmm.
And then it's like you see all these contradicting rules. That it almost sometimes it makes me think like, all right, what's the real story here? What's the real agenda here? You know, are we really like? I get it, like, yeah, we're trying to make sure that this thing doesn't spread, but is it being used for other? Is this like a great opportunity to see some control? You know what I mean?
I mean, it definitely is.
Right.
That's fear is always about seizing control.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like fear. The thing about fear is that it's fear.
Yeah.
Like it's afraid. Fear
Right.
is afraid
Right.
of losing control. So the point that when fear lashes out, it's to take control. I think one of the biggest things that people have to do is pray.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Pray. And when I say pray, I mean intercede. Like if you can pray in your little area, walk around, drive around, like pray to God to cover the area.
Right.
Intercede for people who don't know how to do it for themselves. And watch what happens.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've been praying for this city, Camden, since what, 2007, I guess? Well,
Yeah.
I started 2007.
Yeah. Maybe.
And we've
before.
seen amazing things
Yeah.
happen. We've seen such a transformation.
Yeah.
You know,
I just saw that Camden Rising commercial
Yeah.
today.
that
They
was
play
like,
that all
the
the time.
numbers they list on there is like
it's crazy.
Yeah.
That blew my mind, man.
Yeah.
I almost started crying
Yeah.
because y'all gotta understand when we started praying for this city, it was number one in murders,
Yeah.
worst city in America.
right.
Like it was horrible.
Yeah, like just even like the rundownness, the corruption in City
Right?
Hall.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like all the stuff. It was just a cesspool of. It was a swamp. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And you're seeing a lot of that change.
But prayer changes things,
Yeah.
and it has to be genuine.
Love
happened?
changes things.
No, Liz is texting me. She's closing tonight. Again,
Target's open
Target's open.
all night.
There's a curfew, but I bet you it's people. I'm about to ask her right now how busy was her store.
Well, the malls are
I
closed.
actually stopped at Target. It was pretty busy before I came
That's
here.
what I'm saying. Like that's the thing, and I was out earlier today, like running some errands and stuff like that, and I saw plenty of people out doing the normal thing. You know, a lot of older folks too. Like, I don't see people really like all of the rules are being thrown at us, but you don't. It doesn't seem like it's really.
There's a lot of respect for it.
Yeah,
like
like-
a lot of reverence. Yeah, but I think it might get worse. You know, it could.
Yeah.
The crime rate is the lowest it's been in like 15 years. I think it's longer than that. I think it's like 20 something years, right?
I think it did say 20.
I think it said 50 years on the
50?
on the commercial.
50 years.
I think it was 50.
Oh.
And this is the 50th episode.
50th episode.
Yeah.
What?
And 50 is the Jubilee year.
Right.
And 50 has to do with freedom,
Mhm.
being freed, set free. And so that's kind of key to this because it's about being set
Right.
free from what? From control,
Yeah.
from being bound to a lot of things. Because if you think about the storm comes to keep you bound, but it's really an opportunity to be set free,
Right.
you know?
I mean, and it's not like we're just saying this because it doesn't affect us. You know what I mean? Like we have our own business here, but we already had a show cancel on us in March. We
We
got
had all our shows canceled.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
we
it's
have
canceled.
we have a bunch of shows in May.
Yeah, we're supposed to
that
go to.
are probably not going to happen now, and then June we don't know. You know what I mean? Like so, there's a lot of things that we're losing out on. You know what I mean? But it's not a cause for complaining or panicking. It's just like, you know, we still have to be in faith.
Yeah, trusting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She said it was not too bad. H&M closed all stores today. Crying face. she's upset because she knows Target's not going to close because they have food there.
Right.
So
Speaking of trusting in something, I don't know if I trust in Howie Roseman letting Malcolm Jenkins go.
oh yeah, Stan. Stan just sent an article. It says Cherry Hill man who tested positive for coronavirus has recovered.
Oh, that's good.
That's good news.
Good.
Yeah, I heard that.
Praise Jesus.
Yeah. I wonder how old he was. Let me see if I can find it because it's affecting the elderly more than anything. There was a death in New Jersey. It was like a 92-year-old or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't really see. But yeah,
I don't see that feed.
I mean one of the problems that I think happened with Italy is that they didn't take actions the way they should have. You know what I mean? At first, and then it kind of got out of control.
Mm-hmm. It's funny because if you think about coronavirus, what does corona mean?
Crown.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about crown, what is it about? What goes on your head?
Right.
And what goes on your head, well, especially from biblical terms, like a crown is always about your mind.
Mm-hmm.
It's always about what are you crowned with?
Right.
If it's a coronavirus, like are you crowned with, fear?
That's
are you
why
crowned?
it's too convenient for me. Like the whole setup, like the coronavirus. It's just like I don't know. I'm too much of a conspiracy theorist for this shit. Just like
conspiracy
because
theorize.
there's been too many times in our in our history where we find out that a lot of these things aren't what we're told at 1st.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like, and China's lying,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been, like we were saying earlier, they've been jockeying for position all over the globe lately. This is a perfect little weapon for them. Like, think about what happened to our stock market, what's happening in Europe, It hasn't really affected Africa. They got a lot of investments
things.
there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hasn't affected the islands. They got a lot of investments there too. So it's just strange, man.
Aren't they in South America too?
Yeah. Jordan said, I think this whole virus situation is yet another opportunity for God to show the world how he takes care of his people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love, man. Destroying. I really think it's about destroying traditions and superstitions. You know what I mean? Transitioning us out of that, out of the old way of doing things. Like, so many people I know, they think this is how God is. You got to do these things
Right.
to get blessings. No,
Right.
blessed are those who trust in the Lord.
Right.
That's key. Like,
Yeah. If
and
you don't say the magic words and if you don't do the magic steps, then you
Yeah.
won't be blessed by God. Or you're really going to hell because you don't believe in the real true God.
or like, how do I please him? I got to do these things to please him.
Right.
Like, no, he already loves you. He wants you to come to him.
Mm-hmm.
Blessed are those who trust in God. And so many people, they've been lied to. I don't like, you grow up in something, it's hard not to see past that.
Right.
It's tradition.
Yeah.
Like, and then we hold those things.
It becomes your identity in a
Yeah.
lot of senses. You know what I mean?
I don't know why I'm here. Like, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Like,
Oh, you mean the thing that Joe Biden couldn't get out of his mouth? Remember that
Yeah, the
clip?
thing.
You know-
you know the thing.
no, but
You know the thing.
what is self-evident? What is true is going to become
Right.
self-evident.
But
is what I'm
it's self-evident because
I heard that too. when
you
said
don't
it.
need evidence. It's
But
evident.
that's my point. What I'm
Right.
saying is that the things that we didn't know that are becoming self-evident that weren't self-evident.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
I can't
What?
hear that now without.
but going back to what this country was built on.
Right.
And people want to talk about like, oh, it was built on the back of slaves. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the idea that was put in their heads
Right.
from who?
Even if they didn't fully grasp
No.
what that idea was.
What? Who owns freedom?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It comes from him. Who owns liberty?
Right.
It comes from him. Everything. And that's what my point is. It's their words. And words have to be put through the filter of God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we have to be able to see it his way. Then there's hope there.
Mm-hmm.
There's always hope. But people will look at these words and they won't have hope because they don't see him. You know what I mean?
Right.
My people perish without vision.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have lack of vision. You can't see. Right? So now, like, this is an opportunity for America.
Right.
You know, this is a what's it? What did I say earlier? Emergency broadcast
Yeah.
system. You know, we interrupt.
Our regularly scheduled program
Yeah.
has been interrupted. So now what do we do? You know?
Yeah. For what? This is a test.
Mm-hmm.
You know. If this had been a real,
Yeah.
something would follow. If this
Right.
had been a real,
Do they even do that anymore?
I don't think so.
Yeah, they do.
They do?
Did I? I never hear it. Well, I don't
Yeah.
barely watch TV.
Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yeah. But everything, like, just think about, speaking to, anybody who's listening, like, just think about all the things that happen in your life. Think about the situations that you're in, and think about how many times you're looking at them in the wrong way. And when I say that, I mean, like, you're complaining about it, or you're, like, upset about it. It causes you to be very upset. Like, all these situations are always opportunities.
Right.
They're always opportunities. You can always see him in everything. You know, he said that to me so long. If you see me in everything, you can reach everyone. They're all opportunities for his love to cover you. And if it can't cover you, it can't cover the situation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every time we're in a situation, he's putting before us a test, right? Are you going to hold on to your perspective? Are you going to come into this perspective of life?
Right.
And this perspective of life is love. This perspective of life, there's hope. You know what I mean? This perspective of life, there's truth that will bring justice into your life and transform it. Not the way you think it should be, because that's the way we always see it.
Right.
Like, not the way, we got to lay that down. Are you going to lay down your own idea of the way you think it should go? And are you going to come into my idea?
Right.
That's true freedom. You know what I mean?
But that's one of the issues that we always talk about with the idea of social justice. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you're determining what justice is
Right.
for these things, and it's just causing a further divide in people
Yeah.
because no one's going to be able to agree on what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
You're saying that you are smart enough and got it together enough to make a decision.
Right.
And that's what happens with us so much. We all do it.
Mm-hmm.
We all come into a situation and think we can
It's like
make a decision.
It's like when we watch football, and what do we do the whole time?
Why would you do
Why
that,
would you
Doug?
see now? I would have did. You know what I mean?
He should have ran the screen.
Yeah,
right.
right.
There.
Because we all know better. You know what I mean? We all are the experts.
Yep.
And it's
But a lot of times when we actually go and we do that thing,
right.
like you said, we're causing more divisions.
Mhm.
You know, we're chopping things up more.
Right.
And then you got to go and fix that
Right,
thing.
right.
And that's what happens in society, like,
But
so much.
we talked about this before too, where it just constantly keeps
It
dividing,
just grows.
which is multiplying.
Yeah.
So when you divide it, it constantly multiplies. So now it's like the gremlins, right?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah,
can never get it
right,
under
right.
control.
Definitely, that's, yeah.
It's
The
funny,
gremlins,
right?
they
Like
just- you just keep on pouring water
yeah,
on it. And
then they keep multiplying.
keep popping out.
Yeah,
Boop,
right,
boop.
right. And you're like, damn, how do we get a hold on these things?
that's good. I like that.
It just
Gremlins.
it just popped in my head when we talked
Yeah,
about it.
man. And they turn into these things that just start destroying everything.
Because at first, what is this cute little cuddly
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, the one time you don't follow the rules to how to handle it, it turns into these little monsters, these nuisances. And what do gremlins do? They just cause havoc.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So, in a sense, that's what it's not really multiplication.
Yeah.
It's like just dividing of the same thing because that's
Which
what
causes
happens.
multiplication.
Yeah.
Right.
But true multiplication, true life
Yeah.
comes from God.
Right.
You know what I mean? Two people coming together,
Right.
have a baby.
Right.
You know what I mean? And create a household, but you can have multiple babies.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That's another thing
That's-
people are like
that's
not
the basis of
doing
it.
right now for some reason.
Yeah, because they're selfish.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at themselves.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't want to
listen to
give up my
AOC.
I don't want to give up my lifestyle. I don't want to give up my body. I don't want to give up my money to have a kid.
But that's what we all. I don't want to give up the way I see things. I don't want to give up. You know, I don't want to give up my ideas. I don't want to give up the
My
way
toilet paper.
The way, the way I see the world.
I don't want to give up my toilet paper for nobody. You ever see Gremlins, Rachel? That's from the 80s. You know nothing about
No,
that.
nothing about that there, girl.
That's a classic, man. And Gremlins is technically a Christmas movie.
It is. It happened during Christmas.
You know that? Like
Yeah.
it's like listed as a Christmas movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's up, Jay Copes?
Copes watching.
Copes.
We was in the studio
Copes,
last
Copes know nothing about Gremlins.
Nah. We were in the studio last night and he actually wrote a song about dark times, about like what's going on.
Okay.
It's pretty dope.
That's what's
So
up.
but he was saying like he didn't want to do it about like exactly about, he wanted to do it about just the idea of like overcoming dark times. You know what I mean? Which I thought was pretty cool. So he's going to be doing some, I think he will be working on that this week and trying to get that out for people.
Cool.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, man. Anything else y'all want to hit on before we get out of here?
No, man. I think we.
Continue
How do you
this
feel about
quarantine?
Jenks being gone, Jay?
Malcolm Jenkins?
Come on, man.
Bro, like, that's another thing. I totally don't care. like, think about that. Is there going to, like, how are they going to practice? How are they going to have training camp?
No, they're not.
What's going to happen?
They're not.
They're going to have to postpone the season. Are they going to play this year?
It
What's gonna happen?
kind of takes the energy out of it. in a way.
It takes it takes my caring out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like the NBA got canceled. I did not bat an eye.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, I don't care about this.
like
La Liga, all that. It's all canceled.
it's all canceled.
Don't care.
Coachella's canceled. That's probably a good thing. I forget. I think it was like Chris D'Elia said something. I think he tweeted something. He was talking about how like Coachella was canceled, but also it would have been better if all the people that went there got corona. He's talking about the
that
type
not
of
nice.
the type of people that go to Coachella.
Yeah, but
Like,
still.
I know, but it was just funny. Like it's a
Where's
joke.
Coachella? That's in Cali.
Yeah,
That's the one that happens
San
in
Diego.
Cali.
Yeah, San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah. So all those things, like all those big music events, Burning Man, all that stuff.
South by got canceled, right?
Yeah, they were out on South by Southwest got canceled. They were out closing beaches on South Beach because people were out on spring break this weekend,
Yeah.
and it's like this huge party weekend because of the solstice or something like that, or the moon solstice or something.
Wait.
Somebody was talking about.
Isn't
that.
today
really?
Yeah.
St. Patty's Day?
Yeah,
Is today-
today's St. Patrick's Day. No one can celebrate.
Yeah.
It's the Irish
Oh, that's why they
Cinco
were
de
talking
Mayo.
about people not going to the bars.
Yeah. But Jay said they doing a video tomorrow. That's what's up. Oh yeah, we're gonna leave one of these cameras out for y'all to do that. Dave called me about that. But yeah, what was you just saying?
Talking
St.
about
Patrick's Day.
St. Patty's Day.
Oh yeah, South Beach. A bunch of people were out there. You know, they told people not to go to the beach, not to go to Ocean Drive and all of that. Nobody listened. You know what I mean? What's his name? Gillum.
I don't know who Gillum is.
You don't know who Gillum is?
No.
You didn't hear about that?
No. Who's Gillum?
Gillum? I think he's the mayor of Tallahassee or something.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I know about that one.
Yes.
Come
I
on now.
do.
Yes.
I know y'all heard about
I
that.
thought he was, when
He
you
was
said Gillum, I thought,
caught in the
I
hotel room.
automatically
He was
thought
trying
of
to
a
become
rapper.
governor.
He was trying to become.
Florida.
He ran for governor of Florida,
Yeah.
and then
He
was
dropped out, though.
He dropped. Well, he was under investigation because he got caught taking bribes from people,
Yeah.
right? So he lost that race, but then got caught in Miami in a hotel room with a bunch of male bodybuilder escorts,
Half
naked.
They were naked. He was
half naked. They were naked. One of them OD'd on, and there was meth in the room.
And he said, what did he say? He said that
he said he was there for a wedding.
No, he said he went to go help out a friend.
No, he said he was out there for a wedding.
Yeah?
Yeah, something like that. A friend's wedding. And and he told him that the meth was sugar for his Cuban coffee.
What?
Yo, that was crazy.
Yeah, but then there was like an investigation and they found feces and semen on the bed sheets or something like that, right?
Yeah. Dude, it just doesn't look good. Doesn't look good. My man was out there in Miami, didn't care about Corona at all. He said, I'm gonna be all up in that Rona. Jordan said, conversation I'm seeing among church crowd. Should Christians disobey the laws of the land and keep gathering? I mean, I don't think
In a big church?
You don't.
Well, you 2 or more.
I think it's
I think it depends on what you think gathering is.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
if their idea of gathering is like going to a church,
A mega church.
like church is not in the four walls of the building that you go to.
Right.
Like church is literally 2 people coming together.
Right.
3 people. 4
Why
or
couldn't
5,
they?
like-
Why can't they coordinate amongst themselves to meet? Like the way my kid's school put this whole system in place in a matter of 3 days,
Yeah.
and now they're all doing school from home. You know, with the teacher
You can come together
Teacher
online.
coordinating. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like y'all could easily gather together in people's house. The pastor can go to the church and do a live stream that y'all all tune into and have service together. Like it's there's a way to do it.
But I
where you-
will say, like,
They got enough money.
I will say this. I really believe this is like in the days of Noah type thing where it's like a flood.
What do you mean?
Like
It's a flood.
Like a flood coming in and it's a cleansing.
Okay.
Meaning like cleansing in churches.
Right.
Like in where like people would always be doing the same things over and over again. Like
This is to get you
it's-
out of that
yeah.
repetition.
There's a
that
cleansing,
routine,
like literally.
the regularly scheduled
Yeah.
program. Right.
And what happens to a cleansing? Like you get purged,
Right.
right?
And the church probably will get purged of the people that just come there because the music ministry gets them all hyped up. Like when
Or
you can't
even
have
what's
that,
what's going on inside the church,
Right.
what that shouldn't be.
right.
You know what I mean? What's
A
hiding?
lot of those things will get exposed
Right.
through something like this. Right.
Yeah.
So,
There's what is going on. Even like with the like what are the pastors doing to
Right.
some of these churches?
Mhm.
You know? A lot of these there's a lot of churches that they're not founded on anything strong.
Mm-hmm.
You know? That's a problem.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of cleansing going on. I think there's a lot of like, you know, like, and I'm saying like, I said like Noah because it's like water coming in. What was it doing to wash the land clean?
Right.
You know, again, it's an opportunity to be cleansed. It doesn't feel good to be cleansed. You know, it doesn't feel good to go through the fire.
That doesn't feel good.
Well,
Being cleansed,
I was
don't
gonna say
know.
being
I don't
cleansed.
Well, what
agree
I'm
with
feel
that.
good when I
Well,
take a shower.
I'm saying the way God does.
I'll tell you what, it doesn't feel good to be cleansed like when like after soccer if you didn't like slid on that turf and you got
Yeah.
some open wounds.
Yeah, no, that don't.
That's
We-
what I
we
feel
felt
you.
that many
I feel
times,
you
yeah.
on that. So when there's scars and open wounds and then you
Yeah.
got to go get cleansed,
don't feel good.
that don't feel good.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what's happening also.
Yeah.
Like people got to look at themselves, you
Right.
know, and they gotta submit. Like, all right, I don't know how to do this.
Right.
You do it. You know,
Mhm.
how do you turn water into wine? You know, with that water, when Jesus turned water into wine, that was him literally cleansing out vessel. Those vessels were mitzvah. They were cleansed. You know what I mean? In order for wine to come into a vessel, you got to first clean it. Right?
Mhm.
And that wine was the best wine. What is he doing with his people right now?
Mitzvah.
He's pouring, he's cleansing us so that he
Recharging
can.
the mitzvah.
And what happens? Well, then we can take in, because what is the water? The water is the washing of the word, right?
Mhm.
We take in the word. If we're dirty, we can't take in the word because we're not going to see it the right way. When we get cleansed, it's literally a cleansing is like a humbling, right?
Mhm.
We get cleansed, now we can take it in because we're not full anymore. We don't have things blocking us anymore. So now we can take it in. And that now can germinate in a way, or what's another fermentate or whatever.
Fermentate.
What's the word
Fermentate.
for ferment?
Fermentation.
Can ferment.
Yeah.
And that wine can go through that process. You know, you can that water turns into wine, and that's the wisdom of God.
Right.
And what's wine? It's about joy. It's the joy of the Lord.
Delicious.
You know what I mean? So good. Yeah.
Speaking of mitzvah, there was I just watched this documentary on Netflix, and this guy he was just doing his regular thing. He was going to work. He ended up getting arrested. Right. He lived in California, Mexican dude, right? So they arrested him for something that he didn't do, and I'm saying that because the only way he got out of it was because he was at a Dodgers game, right? And there's all these people at the Dodgers game. It was like 27,000 people. His lawyer started digging and doing all this research, and then the one thing that the dude remembered was, because he went to a lot of Dodgers games, he was like, there was cameras there that one time, and he ended up finding out that that there was people filming there. So the guy called, the owner of the stadium, and he said, "Oh yeah, HBO filmed an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm."
Oh wow.
And they ended up finding this dude. Like, what are the chances
in the tape
in
tapes?
the
footage.
the footage
Right.
of
Tapes.
him?
There's no such thing as
Yeah,
tapes anymore.
and it was like the exact same time when the murder happened, and it got him
Wow.
off of.
That is crazy.
That was
Larry
crazy.
David saved his life
Yeah, it was. I just thought I'd mention that.
because we were talking about recharge the mitzvah.
Recharging the mitzvah,
Well, it's actually mikvah, but
mikvah.
He said, but for real, that was a good perspective. Thanks, guys. That's what we try to do around here, Jordan. We try to give a good perspective. So we're glad you appreciate it. I don't even remember what you're talking about, but glad you like that. But
The church defying the law of the land.
oh yeah. That was a good perspective. I think we handled that very well. Anything else y'all want to talk about in the quarantine before we end this thing? It's 10 o'clock. The curfew is upon us. We're defying the curfew right now, guys. New Jersey's under a curfew right now where you're not
8
supposed to be
p.m.
out past 8 p.m. unless you're going to work or the doctor or the grocery store, which this is work for us. So we're technically
And I
not
might
defying.
stop at the grocery store.
Exactly. So we're actually good. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
yeah, and it's a recommended curfew.
Right.
So
Right. It's not martial law yet.
Yeah.
Calm down, people. People were going crazy yesterday, like, "Oh, you're gonna get pulled over. You're gonna get arrested." It's like, yo, where do you think we live? This ain't. You know what I mean?
Say China, guys.
That's what they were doing there. All right, guys. We appreciate you guys for watching.
Yes.
A lot of people stuck with us this whole time. We appreciate y'all for listening. Some good word there, Jake. So everybody just stay positive. Stay with your family. Stay safe. Hopefully we'll see you guys next week where we can discuss part 2 of the quarantine, because it's probably still going to be going next week. If not, we might have to stream this from our houses if things get worse. We can do like a group stream on Google or something, maybe. What?
no, I just got some quarantine hysteria, martial law,
a new-
markets crash. And
Yo, they're listening to us. Anyway, but remember, guys, patreon.com/youngliontv. Support the broadcast, please, people. We need some support. We're trying to keep the podcast growing. And, you know, we need more people to hear what we're talking about. Make sure you share, like, comment, subscribe. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. And let other people know about the podcast. Stan said, hide your husbands, hide your wives, hide your kids. Corona.
It's Corona time. It's Corona time.
But yeah, we appreciate y'all. Thank you for watching once again. We'll see you guys next week. Hope I didn't forget anything, but if I did,
Why are they showing her like
cares? Bye.
Yeah.
Young lion, go live, yeah. Young lion, you rich, yeah. This kingdom has room, yeah. Go and fight people in, woo.